Before we talk about tomorrow's game, has there been any word from the Referees Association about the controversial decisions last week? Obviously the free kick which led to the opening goal and the deflection off the referee that led to the second.
Yeah, so I do the reports to the referees on a Monday morning, obviously after discussing things with the gaffer and the things we're going to put in. And it's not always criticisms or questions, sometimes it's compliments and that. Like I've said to you many a time, there's been a lot of good refereeing decisions this season and a lot of good referee performances. But I think, before I answer your question, we had a reply after the Swindon game saying it should have been a penalty. We had a reply after Gillingham game said our goal should have stood and Dunkley shouldn't have got sent off. We had a reply after Notts County saying their penalty shouldn't have stood. We had a reply after Colchester saying they should have had 10 men after 5 minutes. We had a reply after Morecambe saying that we should have had a penalty. We had a reply after Accrington saying the third goal shouldn't have stood. We had a reply at Harrogate saying both goals shouldn't have stood. So, and there's a few others there which can't come to my mind. Looks like I've been practicing that, but I haven't. So that, and to be fair to the referee and the association and the assessors, they do get back. They do get back to us with honest feedback. So that's all you ask, and that's why I'm very sure not to criticise them after games and that, because you've got to do it down the correct channels, i.e. the match reports, which we've done. So it's frustrating when you get the feedback returned to you that you sort of know is the answer, but you have to respect the honesty to say, yeah, a mistake was made, etc., and they'll learn from that. So that's disappointing. Let's get it right. For example, I mentioned the Action game there. That's not the reason we lost the game. We were poor. Where we say about Harrogate, we didn't play well enough to win the game, but we probably could have left with a point if those decisions go your way. So we're coming off the back of 2 disappointing performances. Yes, there's been complaints and reports from ourselves about certain decisions this season, and they've always got back to us, the refereeing department, so fair play. So hopefully tomorrow there's no controversy regarding referee decisions, and there's a happy outcome with us and a better performance than we've shown the last 2 games, definitely.
The old cliche, Danny, is it? Well, it'll even itself out over a season, but that's not always the case, is it?
No, and I'm the biggest advocate for that quote. I say it a lot. I did last season. So you're waiting for the balance to even itself out, like you just said, and there's a long way of the season to go. So it may just yet. So people could talk about the officiating or what have you. We can only control what our players do. And like I said earlier, the last 2 games we haven't performed well enough to come off the pitch and think, God, we deserve to win that. How did we lose? Yes, we've come away thinking, oh, there were some poor decisions that didn't go away, but that's not why we lost the game. So we're not going to start making excuses. But at the same time, we have to highlight the things we don't think went our way, which are out of our power, whilst highlighting the things that we have to do a lot better to get up that league table.
How has training been this week, given the conditions across the region? Have they presented any challenges?
Yeah, we couldn't get on any grass or astroturf on Tuesday, so the boys had a hard gym session today and yesterday. We trained a bit later to allow the grounds to clear the snow and allow the pitches to thaw out, and the gaffer did a lot of his shape work in and out of possession, because when you lose 2 on the trot, there's obviously a lot to put right, and that's what he and us as staff are looking to do going into tomorrow.
Fitness-wise, is there any news on the players who've been unavailable? Any updates?
Yeah, I've put the dates, or the rough return to play dates, on the whiteboard in the office today, and I think the earliest, and I'm not going to say who exactly, but is about mid-December. So there's no one anytime soon. Shex is back training, but probably a bit too soon for him to be involved. Ash Palmer had a little tidy up on his knee operation, and he's probably looking to 4 weeks from now. Flecky probably mid-December with his hamstring. Dunks, we had feedback from the consultant saying he will allow him to play within 6 weeks, so 1st of January realistically. So nothing in the next few weeks, Rob, to report, and no one has returned that was previously unavailable.
Week to week, how are the teams in the division presenting different challenges in League 2?
I think it's just, and I said this to someone the other day, that last season the teams that were considered from outsiders to be the poorer teams, or the less fancy clubs, we would eventually have our way. Do you know what I mean? We would eventually get our own way due to the quality of team and quality of player. I think the so-called lesser teams this year, I mean that with utmost respect, because some of those certain clubs have beaten us, so let's not be too detrimental about them, but they've been better at stopping us than teams were last year, and it's about us finding a way to beat those teams that are better than stopping us than the teams were last year. So it's very early days in the season. I'm still going to be Mr. Positive and say it's been a decent start. But if you think, if we had played better against Acton Harrogate, we would have been in a much better position in the league than we are. But it wasn't to be. And when you don't do well, when things don't go your way, you've got to learn from it. You've got to put it right. You've got to remain positive, because it's certainly the first time since I've been here in 4 or 5 seasons, and probably for the manager and the other staff, that we haven't been in the top 7. In 5 seasons, it's the first time I can remember at this moment that's not been in the top 7, albeit it's a better league. So it's not a catastrophe. It's not all hands to the paddock stations, but we don't want to lose 2 on the trot. We don't want to lose 1, yet alone 2 on the trot. So we want to make sure we turn it around and give our supporters something to sing about tomorrow.
And you're on the same points as Barrow, although they're on a challenging run at the moment. So what type of game do you expect?
Every week's going to be a tough game. A few weeks ago I was looking at the league table and they were top. I think Gillingham were second. And then a few weeks later Gillingham were below us, and now Barrow are same position, the same points as us. So it'll be a tough game. Obviously, Andy Dallas very well. He's a threat, and I think that they haven't. We've scored a lot more goals, but they conceded a lot less goals than us. So they're very good defensively. I think they haven't won a day in 6. So we think we're on a poor run. They're on a poorer run. So if you're Stephen Clements, I presume you'll believe in the law of averages that sooner or later they're gonna turn things around. And they'll want that to be tomorrow. They'll see us as a bit of a wounded animal after losing 2 on the trot, games where everyone outside and ourselves, we backed ourselves to go and win those 2 games at Acton Harrogate, and it wasn't to be. It didn't happen. So we have to use it as a platform now to kick on and get as close to that top 7 as we can.